Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on the eve of India's 74th Independence Day, I want to emphasize on the whole theme of unity in diversity. India is perhaps as diverse as the entire continent of Africa. We have thousands of languages spoken in the country. We have a dozen other religions that are followed. And all in all, it is, shall we say, a mixed bag, a potpourri. However, over the over the course of the last 5 or 7 years, there has been a pronounced shift in people's perceptions. Friendships have been ruined over political ideologies, and some seem to think that this whole ideology of division is going to play out positively for the country. Well, I wish to draw a parallel with another country's independence and how they have gone or they have grown by leaps and bounds, while India has largely stagnated, I would think. Case in point being Malaysia and Singapore versus India and Pakistan. When India received independence from the British, immediately there were communal lashes that broke out. Hindus went against Muslims, Muslims went against Hindus, and largely these were people who'd lived together for generations. But because two leaders, Jinnah, Nehru, and a whole lot of them, couldn't come to a consensus, more than 8 million people were massacred. Likewise, when Malaysia received independence or became independent from British rule, there was immediately a period of great discord between the Malays and the Chinese. The Malaysian leaders, they decided at long last that we should just let go of Singapore. It was at the time no more than just a fishing village, and they probably reckoned that Singapore wouldn't amount to much. Lee Kuan Yew, the person who later became the founding Prime Minister of Singapore, was absolutely against the whole idea of division. He kept emphasizing on people living in harmony together, and he was tearful when this whole deal was signed that Singapore should now be a separate state or a separate country. Now, immediately after Singapore became its own sovereign nation, the first thing that Lee Kuan Yew did was to emphasize on unity. He realized that only when people come together can there really be development taking place. And his vision proved true. Now, how did he even enforce this whole agenda of unity further? Well, in Singapore, the bulk of housing is offered by the government. It's probably the equivalent of what we in India have in terms of HIG, MIG, and LIG housing allotments. In Singapore, it's called the Housing Development Board. And the Housing Development Board made certain to make it mandatory for each building to be occupied by equal shares of different communities. What did this do, or what did it achieve? Well, it made sure that any one building did not become a ghetto for one particular community. So, Malays, Chinese, Indonesians, Tamils were initially, you might say, forced to live together, but that initial living together formed the diverse fabric, the multi-ethnic foundation that is Singapore today. In only one generation, Singapore went from becoming a fishing village to one that is perhaps more advanced than even the United States of America. Singapore is one example that we can emulate because they are just as diverse. They had a lot of the same challenges that we faced as a country. But the one thing that their leadership did not put out there, shouting from megaphones and from rooftops, was that one community must go against the other community, that it is us versus them. No. This is the whole ideology that is keeping India from unleashing its potential, from reaching the pinnacle of success. Because we are spending the bulk of our time trying to invoke events that happened centuries ago, even millennia ago? Does it hold relevance what happened 600 years ago or 2500 years ago? We are living in the 21st century. We can do nothing about our past. We cannot change it. But the least that we can do is make sure that our futures are better. That in future, the generations that will come to be will feel proud to salute the flag that is often, I feel, just an overrated gesture. In fact, it makes my blood boil when I see people hanging their flags in front of their cars only to discard it the following day. Is this our narrow ideal of patriotism? Or is there a bigger picture that we are failing to see? I leave it for you, dear viewer, to arrive at an opinion. Thank you, and I wish you a great Independence Day ahead.